This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation of any offer to buy or sell securities. SNN.Network and Maj and I are not licensed brokers, broker-dealers, market makers, investment bankers, investment advisors, analysts, or underwriters. We do not recommend any companies discussed. We may buy and sell securities in any company mentioned and may profit in the event those securities rise in value. We recommend you consult with a professional investment advisor, broker, or legal counsel before purchasing or selling any securities referenced in this podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to Avoiding the Crowd podcast with your host, Maj and I. I'm your producer, Robert Kraft, and thank you all for joining us today. We're recording this actually on Friday, September 25th. It's been a long couple days of going to one of the best events in our industry in the MicroCap space, the MicroCapClub Leadership Summit. Now, before we get to that, because we figured we'd give a little quick take. Maj, what's going on, man? How you doing? It's been a long week.
Tired. It's a long 2 days. Well, a long week preparing for the conference. I like these conferences, man. Between LD, yours, and Ian's, it's a really good chance for investors to get up to date with certain companies and management teams, especially if you own some of these stocks. So it enables you to touch management more than one time a year. And which is good to continue to get updates and see what's changing. So I really appreciate that everything all of you do to make that happen for us. And it's particularly good to this one was nice because we're coming towards, like, when you did your conference, I think we were kind of in the midst of COVID. That was one perspective, and
done two. We did the one. We did the one at the end of April, like right in the thick of it, and then we did the one in August. So. I guess all these events now are in the middle of COVID, right?
Well, kind of, but it's cool about this one now. Like, we're coming out of it now. Like where I'm here in Florida, things are opening up. The bars are going. I think I don't know what level 3, whatever. They're opening up full time now.
Right.
And so it's kind of good to hear where some of these companies were right now. As we go into COVID exit, and it was really the beat I got from most of these companies that I sat in on. There were several companies. I don't know the actual amount. Must have been at least 15 maybe companies. I got to go back and check.
I had 14. So we had the same. So it was 14.
About that, yeah. And it was just business as usual at most companies. And it's surprising how management teams of good companies are able to kind of weather the storm and find new ways to deal with some of these crises. But it wasn't as bad as it could have been for a lot of companies. It's never just like it is for investing. It's never as bad as it seems. And for a lot of these other companies with good management teams, the same thing. And it was refreshing to hear that that they gotten this far surviving. And a lot of what happened to a lot of these companies, what you're learning too, is that they use this opportunity, a crisis like this, to get more lean. Mm-hmm. So it was. If you read a lot of earnings reports, you might see a lot of companies like revenues are down, but their earnings are going up because they became more lean.
Right.
And that's what these crises do. That they make companies reset and take out the excess. Just like in your real life, when crises happen, you do things, you cut back on things, and you still move on and survive. So when we come out of these crises, you have leaner balance sheets, leaner income statements, and we might see some really interesting earnings power coming out of this. So I was trying to see, how get the pulse on that. And, a lot of companies that, we're at the conference for this Ian's conference, there's a lot of companies that I own particularly, and a lot of them we talk about GeoInvesting. So it's going to be it's good to get a report card, and kind of maybe I'll be talking about some of those experiences on GeoInvesting. And as I do it every conference. When I go to LD or even your conference, I kind of give a recap of some of the better interviews or better one-on-ones that we had. And it's usually been pretty good for us. We found really good companies at these conferences. So we appreciate what you're doing.
Dude, I always look forward to your wrap up, especially on my conference. You never look, especially when we're putting these events together and you talk to companies about, their interest and why they want to present and whatnot. And, it runs the gamut of, hey, we got some things that we really want to talk about. It's been a while since we've talked to investors. And there's some times where, I don't have as much time or bandwidth to say, all right, well, let's to actually even sit in on some of the presentations and really give that deep dive, like, okay, what's going on, with this business. So I appreciate, you and every investor that comes to our events and goes and supports all these events, because it's really necessary for our business to really be able to kind of, really go through and figure out which companies, we all kind of might think are interesting. And not all investors are going to think the same ideas are all interesting. Everybody has their individual ways in which they pick stocks, of course, but
and I can't stress enough. I mean, now with everything going virtual, there's no excuse as an investor, if you're a serious investor, especially in the nano cap and microcap space, not to participate in some of these events. You're going to just be hearing these management companies talk, and they're going to talk, and you're going to get a better feel for what's going on in business that maybe you won't get in a press release or a conference call transcript or something. And more importantly, you're going to hear a lot of interaction from other investors and their questions they're asking, and their perspective, and that brings out really interesting things in these stories. So I really encourage any investor who's, serious about investing in stocks in general to really participate in these things. It's really, really important. And in the end, we just a Geo. Let's do a recap here. Here's 5-6 bullet points. We don't, because we want to do a quick turnaround on our views of the conference, and sometimes that's all we need really to get hot on an idea.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but one other big point that you made, when you were talking about how some of these companies are actually seeing earnings because they're getting lean and mean because through this crisis. But I'd say another thing that was pretty common, especially with a lot of the companies that we heard do their presentations today, is they're very innovative, looking at doing a lot of new innovation within their own means, not going out and, getting these little, from what I understand, not doing too many transactions, but within their own means is doing a lot of innovation within their own platforms or enhancing their technology a little bit more to, serve more of their customer base.
Well, they're all serving, they're either serving consumers or they're serving corporate clients, right? And or commercial clients. And consumers and commercial clients have their own challenges in this environment. And a lot of these companies step up to the challenge to be able to serve that. So, I mean, if you're like, maybe you had a division of that was an online, you had an online piece of your business that wasn't really growing much. Now during COVID, you're able to really accelerate that business and really grow it. And being able to do that quickly is really fascinating. How some of these companies really did that and pivoted. So then when we come back to normal days, your online is humming, and then maybe the brick and mortar stuff comes back, and then everything's humming at the same time. So yeah, man, that's one thing I really love about. I find really interesting about companies and their ability to just adjust to these times. Sorry about that.
You got to answer that? By the way, you're speaking at a very, very, you're not speaking too fast today. I know you told me last time.
That's because I'm tired.
That's because you're tired.
But I mean, I went through it. That can bring us up to a interesting thing we did on Geo. So we do things at Geo sometimes to give our members a look into our research process because they would maybe want to do it themselves. So we did this little risk assessment thing. We went over all the stocks, or 38 stocks in our coverage universe that are either, we're long or that are one of our model portfolios. And we looked at each one and did an assessment on how these companies, what's the impact of COVID on them? Short term, long term, and do they find new growth avenues because of the crisis, or did it just accelerate already favorable trends? So we went through all 38 stocks and did that pretty deep assessment. It took about 3 weeks to do it. And it was when I did that, it was pretty interesting when I saw almost majority of companies are going to obviously survive through this, and a lot of them are just getting stronger through it. It's pretty amazing. And everybody thought when the internet came, this evolution is good, man. Change is good in the end. It creates innovative thinking, new ways of doing things, and just I think this is no different this time. So we're going to do more of that at Geo actually as we move forward. Actually, that was one of the things. I get a lot of questions throughout the week.
Oh, you do?
Well, through our members, yeah, which I like, which I enjoy. That means we're doing a good job, right? Because we're interacting, and we're getting more recently. And a lot of the questions, a lot of them are advice oriented. What do you buy, sell? What are you doing with this stock? Is it still worth buying? And that's a tough one for me because we don't want to be. We're not these pumpers. We don't go, hey, so go buy, or and pound table. But we do let people know what we are doing. We hope that our research that we're conveying kind of helps people understand the decisions we're making, how aggressive we're being, or maybe not aggressive, if it's long-term or short-term. But what I learned is we can still be a little better at Geo in terms of helping investors understand our conviction. And, we knew we have a lot of beginner investors, even intermediate, who could really appreciate that, I guess. So we figure we're looking at ways to maybe, without really give, saying buy. We're not going to do that. That's not something we're ever going to do. But trying to give it an idea, more ideas about our conviction. And we did that. We actually did that. Our first step to doing that was a few years ago when we created the high conviction portfolio, which we call our favorite portfolio, which is about maybe 10 or 15 stocks that we think are. Sorry, my brother going crazy. You got to text him.
Zoo, come on, man.
Text me.
I was going to say, hold on real quick, just to make a point.
That's the producer's fault, by the way, for not making sure that before we started. Everything was
hey, I'm tired today, too. I've been up since 6. You've been up since 9, all right?
So we decided we're going to...
I also have to real quickly say, maybe it's only because you guys are both from the same place, but when you said buy, I actually I was like, oh, my God. That actually sounded just like him, but it's that same Philly accent that was coming.
Oh, Kramer, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, no, we don't do that. And actually, I got an email from someone about a week ago. A testimonial was like, who appreciated that. It's a new member. I said, I love that you guys don't do that, and it helps us become critical thinkers and think on our own. So that was really good to hear that. But we are going to try and do this like rating system, basically just not a buy, sell, hold, accumulate, all that bullshit, like 5, 6 ratings, 5 stars. More of like just a 1 and a 2. A 1 is maybe higher conviction, more timely, and a 2 maybe is not. We still like the plays. These are all going to be stocks that we are in our like model portfolios. But at least we understand some members want shorter term plays or want to know what the short term play is, even though most of our stuff is long term. They still have potentially short-term elements to them,
right?
And we're going to try and call that out a little more. And just in general, I have some really pretty cool things coming up in Geo that I can't talk about yet that are going to be pretty awesome and innovative to really start. Well, I don't want to get into it because I'm going to give it away. You know me.
Sure. So. Yeah, no, I got you, and I know I could get it out of you easy. But anyways, we'll say that we'll save that for a later date for when you're ready. But wanted to get back real quick because I think now's a good time to give our kudos to Ian Castle, Mike Schellinger, the whole team at MicroCap Club. It's a great event. I love the format. It's one of the few events I go to where I don't have to work. I can just enjoy. So I love the experience and go to every single meeting, try and listen to every single one of the keynotes. And I mean, it was all the pitch sessions. You did a pitch yesterday.
I did do a pitch, yes.
You did do a pitch. Do you want to talk about it now or you want to save that one?
Yeah, it's too illiquid.
Someone called us out the other day saying that how is this only 50 some odd views? It's gotten more views since then. So hey, if it's a liquid, we're only getting 50 views, just whatever.
I'm gonna save it. I still want to interview management somewhere to get deeper into it. But by the way, I will be adding it to the fair portfolio probably. It's a beautiful information arbitrage situation. I'll just tease with that. There we go.
All right.
It's going to give this company 7 years of predictability, 7 years of revenue predictability and earnings predictability after several years of just like meandering along. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pretty happy about that.
All right. I won't press you. I could, but I won't press you. Don't worry. You're
teasing it. We'll talk about it.
Okay. All right. There you go. Don't worry. We're teasing it up. We're teasing it up for a later episode. But hey, man, you know my drill. I've told you that one.
But we are gonna an episode coming up soon talk about some a risk portfolio piece.
Yeah.
One of the things that we do now at Geo, or I'm sort of personally myself actually, is to maybe really go through some of these stocks that, from a perspective of portfolio protection. I used to do a lot of shorting in China when we were covering China fraud between 2010 and 14. We uncovered 13, or I think 12 or 13 China frauds and got delisted. We uncovered 22 pump and dump scenarios here in the U.S. So there was a time for that, but then we're bullish investors at heart at GeoInvesting. So I'm testing, maybe I'm toying with doing something else now on the side, maybe on the portfolio protection side, and starting to have this maybe a product where it's more about, hey, just looking at companies from both the bullish and the bearish point of view, and have intelligent conversation about it. Yeah, not necessarily, not saying go short at all, but more of it, just if you're an investor, beware of these risks. And we think what's nice about that, we can bring that research out very quickly as opposed to writing 30, 40-page reports, and really actually do a really good thing for retail, for investors, is to get the information out there as quick as possible. So there's a pretty high-profile company that I'm looking at that I think that might be next week if we're lucky.
We're working on it. We're going to make it happen. We just got to get the time. There's a couple holidays and time schedules. We'll figure it out though. I'm excited about that episode. It should be fun.
Yeah. And then the goal of that is to learn how to find these red flags that might be there. And how to identify which red flags are important, which ones are just who cares, they'll be resolved over time kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because the thing is, now we have to, if we're a long investor, we need to understand that there are short sellers out there. Your stocks was going up, starts hitting the highs. The short sellers are going to look at that, and they're going to try and find the smallest little thing in that risk, in that 10K or 10Q in your press release, in your risk factors, that may be really nothing in the end, but if it's enough to cause sensationalism, it could cause a 10, 20% drop in your stock price temporarily, and that's how they make their money.
Gotcha. All right, so we're teasing that up. That's coming up, but one more quick take on. From it's really not just from the summit, but all these events where management teams are doing presentations. Maj, in your experience, and you've gone to thousands of these events, you've talked with thousands of management teams. Especially when it comes to these events and seeing these presentations and in their 20, 25, 30-minute, however long that they have. What's the one or two things that when you hear them, you're like, that's it, nope, next. What's some red flags for you when that comes up in a presentation? You're like, all right, well, this might be an interesting story, but they said this, next.
I'm looking at, I can say like a couple of things. Like, number one, I'm looking at trying to figure out the company's attitude towards capital structure and growing the company through organically versus having to raise money excessively to grow the stock. And if I get the sense that a company doesn't really have a loyalty to its share outstanding base, I get a little worried. And so I'm really looking at that, and I get more excited about those that can grow organically than not. So, because a lot of companies use these conferences to raise money, and to go out there and just pitch a dream or pitch a fantasy to raise money, and that's what you got to try and weave through. And I'm also looking to hear how management companies answer. They actually answer a question directly, or they sidestep it. I want to know if someone asks a question during these interviews, about their margins, they don't even know what their margins are. They don't know what their product mix is. They don't know these little small things that they should know. I get a little worried sometimes, and I'm looking for that. So, but there's no. A lot of times, everybody we get these kind of questions. What's the best way to invest or look at these things, and it's no cookie cutter approach. It's over time. Interviewing enough management teams to understand that it's a fluid process, and you develop this journal in your head of scenarios over time, and that you just start to understand how things fluid. And if you tell me to do a blueprint, I can have a management team that does it this way, that checks the boxes off, these five, and gets it right, and this one doesn't. It has other 5 blocks it checks off, so and they get it right. So it just really you start developing a natural kind of instinct of what management teams to trust and what business plans to trust. If they make sense.
Yeah. I find myself going into some of these meetings now, or most of them, is I know most of the companies, or I've interviewed management at some point, so it's like, it's rare. There was only a few today that I listened to where it was completely new, for me in terms of like having never heard management do a presentation. And I was really excited about those. And if anybody's trying to get me to say what my favorite presentation of the day was, you're not going to hear it because they were all they all did a great job. It was look, it's a pressure cooker. It's not the easiest thing to do, to get in there and not just present. And doing a presentation itself is scary, but these are intimidating investors, man. Like this is a group that knows their shit. This ain't no walk in the park right here, And so I give a lot of kudos to those management teams for making it happen, and especially the investors for making those management teams feel like they need to be on their game. That on itself is a huge win.
What you learn too is the CEOs and CFOs, they like talking, they like answering the questions. They want tough questions, and I love to hear that too.
They'd rather the Q&A.
Yeah, they love the Q&A. But what's also interesting now too, by the way, Bobby, this having the market's been pulling back, so it was really good for me to like hear some of my how my companies are doing that I own right now during this little small pullback we've had in nanocaps in the smaller capitalized companies. So it's really great. You have the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, so you're getting its perspective all year round.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, dude. We said I don't know if I said at the beginning, but we said we do. This is gonna be a quick one today because next week, if we can figure that out for what we have planned, like that's probably gonna be a bit longer of an episode and pretty fun.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah. So here, let's do final takes. Any games that you're watching this weekend? Here, I'm gonna tell you which ones I feel I'm probably gonna watch if I can, because I don't have friggin' Red Zone. Who's Pittsburgh playing? Here, I'm finding out for you right now. They're playing. Where are they playing? I'm playing Houston. That should be interesting.
Houston?
What's the over-under sacks that TJ Watt's going to get on Deshaun this weekend? I'm going to say the over-under might be 2, at least.
Let me see here.
That guy gets sacked more than any quarterback in the league. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that's true, at least statistically, but I can't confirm that. I'm
pulling up my pool thing over here real quick. Let me even see.
It's a new set. Here was the new segment that I was thinking of us to do. Like, I texted you about this. It's like for each week, and we just go week by week, not like for the full season, but like week by week. Like, who's your going long? Who are you shorting this week? And then who's a China fraud?
Well, like
keep it GeoInvesting theme.
There'll always be one. Yeah, of those.
There's always one.
The Steelers game is tough, man, because obviously, as I'm a Steelers fan.
Yes.
And they're favored by I think 4.5. They're playing Houston, and I think Houston's 0-2, and it's a scary game because Pittsburgh's 2-0, Houston's 0-2, and this is a must-win for Houston. But I think Houston's overrated anyway. So I think
he's got no receivers.
Getting pretty good.
Deshaun's got no receivers. He's incredible, but he's got no weapons.
He's okay. Yeah. Not a big fan. Well, not a
what?
big fan.
That guy's amazing.
Yeah,
he's definitely top tier.
And also, he got a big contract before the season started. A lot of times that ends up being a down year for some of these players.
They traded away a top 5 wide receiver.
Who are your mighty Giants playing? Oh, you're done. San Fran?
Actually, this is going to be a close game. San Fran just announced that Mullins is starting, and then Bosa's out for the year. And I thought I just saw somebody else was out.
You lost your guy, your running back. I mean,
yeah, but I mean, our line sucked anyway, so I mean, it was kind of an inevitability. Like that was the shittiest part about being a Giants fan, like, and having this incredible running back. And I think this was said on the Bill Simmons podcast, so I'll quote it, but they were more or less like, okay, here we go. Like, you're going to take Saquon and then taking Danny Dimes, but no line whatsoever. You're just basically Barry Sanders-ing him, more or less. Like, potentially the greatest running back of our generation, and he's probably not going to have much to show for it, unfortunately.
Not the Giants. I'll take that bet, by the way. I mean, if you want.
Well, you take the Giants over the over.
I'm taking San Fran. You're a Giants fan, right?
Oh, Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. Oh, so you're gonna you're taking San Fran against me? Is that what's going on?
Yeah,
All right. What's our wager? Let's do a wager.
We'll do a beer and a shot.
Beer and a shot. Okay,
Next time.
I'm good with it. Here, how about this? If the Giants win, you have to do a beer and a shot at the beginning of the episode. If the San Fran wins, I'll do a beer and a shot right before we start recording. Hopefully, it'll be later in the day.
Perfect. You gotta do a shot like every 30 seconds or something, or every 5 minutes.
Every 5 minutes. No, I'm gonna be back in my office. I'm gonna have to drive home. So no.
I'm even gonna give you
what's the line?
Give it a points. It's 4.5.
Wow, San Francisco's still giving up 4.5 with a backup. Wow, Vegas they have no respect for New York anymore, or the Giants. Well, actually, no, New York in general. The Jets suck too. Wonder how I think that was the biggest line.
You got a shot. All right, it's on.
All right, man. Let's go jump in the virtual happy hour for a little bit. I think that's on. It's just starting.
That's right. All right, buddy. Talk to you later, man.
Later, buddy. See ya.
Yeah.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation of any offer to buy or sell securities. SNN.Network and Maj and I are not licensed brokers, broker-dealers, market makers, investment bankers, investment advisors, analysts, or underwriters. We do not recommend any companies discussed. We may buy and sell securities in any company mentioned and may profit in the event those securities rise in value. We recommend you consult with a professional investment advisor, broker, or legal counsel before purchasing or selling any securities referenced in this podcast.